Patents are crazy, especially game patents. Every obscure mechanic you can think of is likely patented just to bite some unlucky developer in the butt. And Nintendo is notorious for sending out their ninjas on everyone, whether it be a fan or a real deal developer. But their secret weapon isn't copyright, no, it's the legendary patent. Tears of the Kingdom had every mechanic under the sun patented, like a freaking loading screen, Link writing objects, the fuse mechanic, NPCs, and many more. 31 plus actually. Now let's address the elephant in the room, palworld. If you clicked on this video, then you are likely aware of the palworld goofiness. Don't lie, everyone was shell-shocked by the existence of patents, me included. We all thought palworld was slick until they weren't. Don't steal Nintendo shit. I'm not no lawyer, so I can't pin down a candidate, but common sense allows me to choose some of the obvious offenders, like creature capturing and writing objects are Pokemon in this sense. And what's strange about patents is how vague they are, infuriatingly vague. As I was researching, I was struggling. No wonder people are paid big racks to read this shit. Patents are written so incomprehensible that any small detail could apply to a patent. So even if you unknowingly encroach on Nintendo's territory, they can sue you out the wazoo. But the vagueness works against its favor, because people find loopholes around patents all the time, installing the same mechanics just with a different coating of paint. So it sounds like patents are just bullying ammunition for when companies feel disrespected. And if you start patenting those two Pokemon mechanics are egregious, well, here's some more. How about the spawn rate? A system used in all old school JRPGs. I guess what makes this unique is rather than fighting slimes, you fight Pokemon. My favorite one is the debuff and buff display UI. Yes, displaying if your captured character has been poisoned is exclusive to Game Freak. Well, emphasis on captured. As long as you're not using an enslaved character, it's fine, I guess. The sanity system. Apparently, Zelda was supposed to have a fear mechanic, where the more afraid Link became, the more bizarre the game became. But Nintendo never used it for Zelda because drugs bad, I guess. But they did implement it in Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Wow, they even named the game after the mechanic. Shameless. And maybe it came back in some form in Mario Wonder, because that game's tripping. But a mechanic that did make it into Zelda was Z-targeting. This is the classic clunky lock-on that we all love. Practically every action game has a lock-on mechanic, some better than others. But is that Z-targeting? I don't know, I'm not a game designer, but good luck enforcing that patent. The coolest and most dubious patent is tracing symbols to invoke magic. The Wii is weird. You either love it or hate it, but you have to admit, Nintendo was cooking with the motion controls. Sometimes they burn down the house, but usually yield good results. But I swear I have seen tracing symbols for magic in other games, like Harry Potter or something. So maybe Nintendo needs to sue, but I'm not a snitch. For the Mario Maker fans, a system for designing a virtual environment. So yes, if you want to make your own Maker game, you have to ask Big Nintendo first. Maybe that's why we haven't seen a Mega Man Maker yet. And even more stingy is Nintendo patenting turning into a bubble in Mario Co-op. Now at first this sounds dumb, but what other games have a mechanic like this? I know it's patented, but still, ain't nobody worried about this. But a mechanic that people might want is sharing a vehicle on a board game, aka Mario Party 9 and 10. Damn, this would have been fire in Sonic Shuffle. Though a really interesting patent is intelligent animation by tagging. This is a mechanic when a game tags an object and a character looks at the object as they are walking by to give a feeling of life, basically immersion. I wonder how many games to use this. And finally, the classic, touch controls. This has to be the most disrespected patent in the world. There are so many touchscreen games. Mobile, Steam Deck, Damn, Nintendo, you have to sue the world. Hire me. I'll be the worst lawyer. We're taking L's together, but at least I'll get the bag. Moving on from Nintendo, we have Square Enix. What are they known for? Anime? Close, JRPGs. And that's what all their patents are for. For the Final Fantasy XIV fans, automatic movement of player character in game. You know when little Timmy has to go get his chicken tendies from Burger King, but now your main healer is AFK. Fuck. But thanks to Square Enix, you don't have to worry about that. With the ability to command instructions to an NPC copy. They obviously patented this for Final Fantasy XIV, but I wonder how other MMOs get around this. Or how about the basic fundamentals of an RPG? Having a character that has different attacks, that does different things, such as different damage and different effects. Square Enix owns that. So good luck making an RPG. It better be unique like Undertale or something. Now this one is fascinating. Role-playing video game using cards. This was patented in 2004, but I'm not aware of no card RPG released in that year. But in 2021, the Voice of Cards was released, which is exactly what this patent sounds like. Now the most controversial mechanic that has divided Final Fantasy fans for ages was patented back in 1991, surprisingly. The active battle system. So every modern Final Fantasy has this mechanic to thank, and I don't think I've seen any other ARPG with this mechanic, so maybe the patent worked. Now a recent patent is letting players train in-game NPCs and alter their behavior, but this mechanic has been present in so many games it's not even funny. I think even Club Penguin had this. Come on Square, do better. Now the reward for the most ineffective patent goes to a chat window in MMOs. Literally every single MMO has a chat window. So I don't know what Square was cooking, but it clearly didn't work. Time for the devil itself, Activision. Ironically, their patents aren't too bad. The biggest offender is Toys to Life, aka Skylanders. But Nintendo literally has their own copy, the Amiibos, and we know Activision doesn't want to go blow to blow with Nintendo. Aside from Skylanders, their patents are too generic to enforce, such as separate paths to unlock content or conditional access to areas. Doesn't like literally every game have this, especially adventure games? Though there are some more interesting patents, such as earning virtual fans by completing objectives. The illustration shows a racing game, assumingly, though it reminds me of Crazy Taxi. And then there's the vocal scoring system, where the game rates your singing compared to digital samples. And this patent might actually work, because when's the last time we've seen a singing game, let alone a Guitar Hero competitor? But Activision got way too cocky with this one. A video editor? Come on Activision, every game has a video editor nowadays. And the last one is just offensive. A player joining a song without interrupting the song. That is exclusive to Activision. That's just being an ass to be an asshole at that point. Now taking a small break from the big dogs, how about a little pup? DigiDeal Corp literally made a patent just for their blackjack game. The patent is literally playing blackjack against an AI. That's it. I low-key respect it, even though the patents are useless. Now Microsoft is all over the place. They range from basic multiplayer systems, such as quick joining a lobby online, to interesting patents such as augmented reality adaptive gameplay. It's crazy to even try to patent a spectator mode, and the fact that it got improved is asinine. Well, this was 2005, so it makes sense. Though, Microsoft was cooking with matchmaking by style. Imagine choosing your own style of gameplay, and the algorithm assigns you with similar players. So if you're an aggressive maniac, do you get psychopaths on your team? Or if you're a passive bitch, do you get pussies on your team? Though Microsoft lost my goodwill with patenting blocking communication with another player. This is mandatory in any multiplayer game because people are assholes. Now if you thought that was crazy, how about a visual indicator of an online speaker being exclusive to Microsoft? So if someone is chatting in your group, good luck knowing who it is. Though a more inoffensive patent is dynamic weather for a flight simulator. Microsoft is the flight simulator. I don't think they have any competition, so I'm not whining about this patent. Though the racing game garage is crazy. So this is why Mario Kart doesn't have a garage. Similar to Activision's patent, Microsoft has their own awarding points to a player depending on goals match patent. But with Microsoft owning Activision, I guess it doesn't matter. Microsoft doesn't usually do RPGs, but even they have a managing limited inventory patent. So this is why I have to drop so much shit in Fallout. Though the most interesting patent is the predator versus prey mechanic. This mechanic is described as a cops versus robber scenario, where one player is the cop and the other players are normal cars. And the goal of the predator, aka the cop, is to run into other cars. And when those cars are run into, they become cops as well. Ooh, I wanna be a cop. Run me over, please. The last player to remain as prey is the winner. This is definitely some wacky minigame bullshit. The patent was published in 2009, but I don't know a single game that functions like this. But to be fair, I'm not a big Microsoft fan, so I wouldn't know either way. Zynga, the mobile giant. Of course they have to patent their main game. Who would dare try to replicate the game of Word? Oh, millions of people. A surprise to me, Zynga made other games. Terraforming Game Spaces Online is owned by Zynga. This must be for one of those goofy Facebook farming games. If you ever wondered how mobile games always have new quests for you, you have Zynga to thank, with the AI dynamic quest. I don't think Zynga gives a damn about this patent, because literally every mobile game uses AI quest. A interesting patent, which I didn't think was possible for Zynga, is the shared social aspect in game. This means, rather than having to complete an objective yourself, just get a friend, if you have friends, to maximize the progress bar ×2. You also see a lot of this in MMOs. Zynga's most sus patent is the online game with animal breeding mechanic. This is definitely for the farmers. But who else does this? Nintendo. Y'all might want to stop picking on Palworld and fight another battle. For the Wii Fit fans, Heartbeats Corp has patented a very interesting mechanic. Difficulty level adjuster dependent upon players' aerobatic activity level. So depending on your speed, the game will get more difficult if you are slacking. But if you're actually moving your body, the game adjusts its difficulty accordingly. It's very similar to Ring Fit on the Nintendo Switch and all those goofy Wii Fit games. I doubt this company even still exists, because they made one super obscure game for the Sega Genesis and hasn't made anything since. Now EA's patents are very easy to discern what game they were made for, such as the dialogue wheel from Mass Effect. But Skyrim has this too, but I guess it's not exactly a wheel, so they're fine. And then there's the playbook user controls, which you see in every sports game. And who else makes sports games but EA nowadays? Then you have the Respawn PvP item, which was made very recently in 2019 for Apex Legends. Now, I'm not a Battle Royale fan. I haven't played any but Fortnite for like 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if this mechanic is present in other Battle Royales. But knowing EA, I doubt it. Another recent patent is AI emulating human playstyles. This was patented in 2020, so I assume this is for the My Career stuff in 2K, but Nintendo also does this with the amiibos in Smash Bros. So I think EA is a little late here. Midway has the most anti-consumer patent ever, unlocking secrets with a Pacific controller. So let's say there's a secret in a game that requires a PlayStation controller, but you only have an Xbox controller. Whoop, you're shit out of luck. Thank God exclusives seem to be dying off. Eastman Kodak, what a name, has a very bizarre patent method for producing personalized games using CD disc. This is something you will see a lot in the 3DS and DSi era, where you would take a picture of your face or your dog and then blow their heads off. What a goofy time. Harmonix Music Systems has patents for exactly what you think, music, such as inputting actions in a rhythm game, a motion dance competition, and a musical combat game. Hi-Fi Rush, is that you? Thanks to these legends, we get classics such as Guitar Hero and Rock Band. eBay of all people has a gaming patent for audience-adjusted gaming. This was patented in 2020, so I assume this is for one of those gimmicky streamer games. Now Bandai is notorious for the loading screen minigame patent, arguably the most infamous gaming patent of all time. But they also have a couple of other goofy goobers, such as falling blocks, aka Tetris, and objects stuck to a main object which the player controls it, aka Katamari. I don't know how Bandai enforces the Tetris one. Tetris is the most copy-pasted game of all time. Now y'all must have thought I forgot about the king, Sony, the king of anti-consumer practices. It's kind of funny how obvious Sony's patents are. You have mechanics such as QuickTime events. Sony is the QuickTime events company. Aim assist. Sony is the FPS company in recording commands and executing them in game. This basically means any action you command in an action game is executed by the character. Wow, that's a new low. Now Sony also has some interesting ones such as a virtual pet. When has Sony ever made a virtual pet game? Player and enemy sharing mana in an RPG? Wow, I've never played an RPG with that mechanic, and I'm a big RPG guy. In photos used for augmented reality, Sony was pushing VR heavily. Now they try to be slick with branching story dependent on choices. Come on Sony, every story game does this, especially nowadays. For the Metal Gear fans, Konami has a patent for controlling the enemy with an item. Imagine throwing a smoke bomb into a crowd of goons and they begin shooting at each other. And surprisingly, Konami isn't just a pachinko machine simp, because they dived hard into sports with 2 baseball patents. 1, the method of swinging a baseball bat, and 2, getting XP depending on your dialogue choices, which relates to their Power Pro series. Then there's the camera changing in sync with the player, which shows a snowboarding illustration, so I guess they made a snowboarding game too. Now their most egregious patent is customizing the character with RPG attributes, something every RPG does. I didn't even know Konami made RPGs. Hothead Games almost single-handedly stopped the era of gacha because they tried to patent digitally opening a pack of cards. If they had the resources to enforce this, there would be no Genshin nor no Hearthstone. Now finally, we're at the most infamous game patent of all time, the Nemesis system. People have been crying about this patent since 2014, and I can't think of any other game with this patent. But apparently the new Wonder Woman game will have a Nemesis system. Now of course, the mouse tried to stick its greasy paws into gaming. Disney has a couple of wacky patents that isn't too egregious, such as painting in game and tracking real life gestures in game. This clearly applies to Epic Mickey, the most underrated game of all time. And they also have a TV to game sync patent, which basically means scanning a QR code with your game system. I guess this was used in one of their goofy game shows back in the day, but the most egregious Disney patent is teleporting to another player. This patent was created solely for Club Penguin. Now, I'm not a big MMO guy, but if you can't teleport to your friend in your MMO, you have Disney to thank.